Hey there. Good evening, everyone. As I am off celebrating morning, I guess is more like it, the last game of the NHL season, I am proud to announce that we are entering week 2 of something that we here at Community Pay It Forward feel is very important. And our goal has been from the beginning that we try to do something for everyone. And we don't ever want to forget our kids. This next gentleman that you're going to meet is a wonderful, wonderful friend of mine. If you've heard me talk about him. He's Santa Claus. Santa and I have worked together on many different things. We work on a holiday event. He goes all out to help us with the 22-hour podcast. We also are teaming together to make sure that veterans get treated well. He has a wonderful program called the Warriors Beacon of Hope that is teaming up with the Come Together Compass to make things better for our veterans. Neither one, Santa and I, served this country. But our goal is to serve those who did. Santa and I happen to be on, our shows happen to be on at the exact same time. So I feel guilty that we can't share him live. Maybe eventually that will change and we can do something different. We're looking in to see what we can do to have Santa's stories on live. I think that it's very important that we do. But until then, Tuesday nights are going to be for my friend, my idol, Santa. So I invite you all to grab your kids and come and sit around every Tuesday night at this time, 6 p.m. East, 3 p.m. Pacific, to hear about an hour, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, of everyone's favorite person, Santa Claus. He's telling different stories. It's summer, it's getting closer to summertime. Why would we want to hear Santa stories? Because they're not all about a holiday. These ones happen to be about different things. And Santa is about giving and support and helping people. I invite you to join me in listening to these wonderful stories by a wonderful man. Santa is also a huge part of our Giving Partner program. If you hire Santa for your event and you say, you know what, I saw you through Community Pay It Forward, he's going to donate a portion of what you pay him back to us. And we're going to take and donate a portion of that to someone that you choose to support in our Mission Partner program. Scan this QR code that you see up in this logo, and it's going to be throughout this whole program. It's going to be up in this corner. Scan that QR code, and you can make a huge difference simply by putting a little bit of magic in your life and adding Santa to your program and to your day. So here in just a minute, we're going to start Santa's Stories of Impact. This is the second week. I just wanted to get on here and kind of explain a little bit more on what we're doing. Santa has a very special a program, okay? And look, this is one of the neatest things that he does. If you go to this page, you can hear a story that Santa created for my 7 grandkids. He can do that for your family as well. He can do that for your group. He can do that for your class. He can do that for your, for your home, for whatever it is. Santa can stylize these stories. And I don't care if it's mid-June or December, hearing your name by old Saint Nick is something extremely special. So please, join me in celebrating Santa's Stories of Impact right here on the PACT Podcasting Networks. If you have any questions, please reach out to me at Zach@communitypayitforward.us. That's Zach@communitypayitforward.us. But for now, I'm proud to introduce you to my friend, Santa.
Ho, ho, Santa Papa John coming at you with some exciting news. I've got something special to tell you. Story time by Santa. You know my stories. They're now being featured on Brother Zach's website, Community Pay It Forward. This is so exciting and I couldn't be more proud. Why? Because this is what it's all about, folks. Paying it forward, sharing kindness, and creating moments that make people smile. And these stories, well, they're not just about the North Pole and Santa. Oh no, you need to check them out. They're happy, uplifting stories filled with positive messages and many life lessons. Stories that bring people together and remind us what really matters. A big thank you going out to Brother Zach for helping spread joy and bring these stories to even more hearts. So head over to Community Pay It Forward website, check out these stories, enjoy the stories, and don't forget, share them with someone who could really use a smile today. Ho, ho, because joy has no season. And together we can keep paying it forward. Ho, 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 come in close, my wonderful friends. Pull your blankets up, wiggle your toes, and make a little room for one more story by the fire. Tonight's tale is about courage. Not the roaring kind, not the look at me kind, not the quiet kind. This kind starts as a tiny flutter in your chest and grows into something strong enough to carry you farther than you've ever thought possible. This is a story of the kangaroo who took his first leap. I'm sitting on the beach. Yes, enjoying the wonderful sunshine. So here we go, far away underneath the great wide sky. Painted gold in the morning and pink in the evening, there stretched a beautiful valley called Sun Hop Plain. The grass rippled in the breeze like soft green waves. Gum trees leaned this way and that, as if whispering to one another. Bright birds zipped overhead, singing like they had a very important gossip to share. And in the valley lived a young kangaroo named Kip. Kip had soft brown fur, bright eyes, a twitchy little nose, and a kind of ears that stood straight up wherever he got nervous, which was quite often. Now, Kip was kind, Kip was thoughtful, Kip was funny in a quiet sort of way. But there was one thing Kip had not yet managed to do. He had never taken a real leap. Oh, he bounced a little, tiny bounces, practice bounces. I meant to do that bounces, but the great springing kangaroo leap, the one all the young kangaroos in Sun Hop Plain seemed to do as naturally as blinking. Nope, not Kip. He hadn't done that yet. Every morning he watched the others boing, boing, boing across the valley, boinging over rocks, boinging through tall grass, boinging up little hills and down the other side with delighted laughter, and every morning Kip thought the same thing. Today might be the day. And right after that, he thought, or tomorrow would be safer. Kip lived with his mother near the edge of the plain, under the shade of a wide old gum tree. His mother was wise, calm, and very patient. She had a voice that made everything sound possible, even things that felt terribly hard. One bright morning, she found Kip peeking out from the shade, watching the other kangaroos practice jumping. "You're thinking again," she said gently. Kip sighed. "I do that a lot." "Yes," said his mother, "you do." Kip looked at the others. "What if I try and I fail?" His mother sat beside him. "Then you get up. Not a big deal. What if I don't go very far?" "Then you still go further than before." "What if everyone sees?" His mother smiled. "Then everybody sees someone being brave." Kip looked down at his feet. They seemed very ordinary feet to him. Not heroic feet, not adventurous feet, just feet, feet. His mother gave him a little nudge. Every kangaroo takes their first leap in their own time. Kip nodded, but inside he felt like a knot tied in the middle. Later that morning, his best friend, Leela, came bouncing over. Now, Leela could leap. Oh, could she leap. Leela bounced like joy had springs in it. She loved trying new things. She loved racing shadows. She once challenged a gust of wind to a hopping contest and claimed victory because the wind had poor direction. "Kip," she called, "we're going to Whisper Hill." Kip blinked. "The big hill?" "The very one." Kip looked towards the distance where Whisper Hill rose gently against the sky. From here it looked peaceful. From close up it looked tall. "What are you going to be doing there?" he asked. Lily grinned. "Big leap practice." Kip swallowed. "I think I'll stay here and do medium thinking." "It could be." Leela laughed. "That's not a sport." "It could be," Kip said. "I'll be excellent." Lily dropped beside him in the grass. "Kip, you don't have to start to jump the furthest. You just have to start." Kip twitched one ear. "You make it sound easy." "It isn't easy," Lily said kindly. "It's just worth it." That stayed with Kip all day. That afternoon, while he sat near the creek watching dragonflies skim the water, someone spoke to him. "You have the face of someone trying to think his way around a feeling." Kip turned. It was Wobble, an old wombat with sturdy paws, a serious expression, and a remarkable ability to sound grumpy even when saying something nice. "I'm not trying to think my way around it," Kip said. "I'm just trying to think my way through it." Wobble nodded. "Better." Kip sighed. "Everyone else can leap. I can barely manage a hopful bounce." Wobble sat down with a little grunt. "Do you know the first time I tried to climb over a log?" "You climb logs?" "I did. Once. Very dramatically." "What happened?" "I rolled backwards into a bush." Kip's eyes widened. "Really?" Wobble looked offended. "Do I seem like someone who would make up a bush?" Kip couldn't help laughing. Wobble twitched his whiskers. "Then I tried again, rolled again, tried again. Eventually I got over the log." "So you just kept trying?" "No," said Wobble. "First I complained, then I kept trying." Kip laughed even harder. Wobble looked at him sideways. "The point, young hopper, is that nobody starts by being good. They start by beginning." Then he waddled off, muttering, "And logs are arrogant." That night, Kip lay awake under the stars, listening to the soft night sounds of the plain. He thought about his mother, he thought about Lily, and he thought about Wobble versus the log. And in the quiet of the dark, he made a little promise to himself. "Tomorrow I will try." The next morning dawned warm and clear. The sky glowed pale gold. Birds sang, grasshoppers clicked. Lily arrived earlier than usual, already practically bouncing with excitement. "Well?" she asked. Kip took a deep breath. "I'm coming." Lily froze for half a second. Then she cheered so loudly a flock of birds lifted out of a nearby tree. "You're coming? You're really coming?" "Yes," said Kip, before he could change his mind. "But if I wobble, I'd like everybody to be polite about it." "I can promise kindness," said Lily. "I cannot promise silence." So off they went towards Whisper Hill. The path wound through waving grass, over flat warm stones, and past a cluster of low bushes where two wallabies were arguing about whether clouds looked more like pies or sheep. "Definitely pies," said one. "Sheep with confidence," said the other. Kip smiled a little, then helped. As they walked, Lily did not push him. She didn't say, "You must do this," or "Don't be scared." She just stayed beside him, cluttering about ordinary things. "The kookaburra near the water hole stole my breakfast berry. That bird has no respect. And yesterday I landed in a patch of flowers on purpose." "No, but I apologize to all of them." By the time they reached Whisper Hill, Kip's heart was still beating fast, but not in the same frightening way. Now it felt like he was carrying a drum inside him, one that was saying, "Maybe, maybe, maybe." At the top of the hill, several other young kangaroos were practicing. They turned when Kip and Lily arrived. "Hey, Kip, glad you came. No pressure." "The last part was pressure," muttered Kip. Lily snorted. One of the older Joeys, Marlowe, stepped over. Marlowe was not only a strong jumper, he was known for being encouraging without sounding mushy, which was very useful talent. "Good to see you here," Marlowe said. "You don't have to leap far today, just true." "Blinked? What does that mean?" "It means don't leap like someone else. Leap like you." Now, that was an odd thing to say, but somehow it made sense. The young kangaroo took turns practicing. Some went high, some went long. One got distracted halfway through a leap by a butterfly and landed in a shrub. "Worth it," he called from inside the leaves. Kip watched carefully. He noticed something important. Not everybody leaped perfectly. Some landed crooked, some stumbled, some laughed to themselves and tried again. One missed a mark painted in the dirt by so much he shouted, "I was exploring new possibilities." No one teased him, no one groaned, and no one rolled their eyes. They just gave him room, then cheered, then he tried again. Kip's shoulders loosened a little. Lily nudged him. "See?" Kip nodded slowly. "Everybody looks normal." "That's because they are. But I thought they all felt sure." Lily grinned. "Oh no, half the time I'm guessing and hopping." "You? Absolutely. You always look fearless." Lily lowered her voice. "That's because I bounce before my worries catch me." Kip laughed. At least it was his turn. At last it was his turn. The hill suddenly seemed much bigger. The ground seemed farther away. His feet felt too small. His tail, well, It was awkward, his ears too earish. Marlowe stepped beside him. Look at the place you want to land, not the place you're afraid of. Kip swallowed and nodded. His mother's words floated back to him. Every kangaroo takes their first leap in their own time. Wobbles too. Nobody starts by being good, they start by beginning. And lilies? It's worth it. Kip took one step forward, then another. Then he bent his legs slowly. The wind moved through the grass. Everything went cool, very quiet. Kip thought, if I wobble, I wobble. If I land badly, I land badly. But today I begin. He pushed off, and one glorious, surprising moment, Kip left the earth. He was in the air, really in the air. The world opened up beneath him. The hill, the grass, the sky, the shining valley all spread wide and bright. Then he landed, not elegantly, not perfectly. He landed with a bounce and a stumble and a little sideways scoot that ended in a surprising blink. But he landed on his feet. The hill erupted. Lily cheered. Marlowe thumped the ground. The others shouted, Kip did it! Kip stood there breathing hard. I did it, he whispered. Then louder, I did it! Lily bounced over and nearly knocked him sideways with excitement. You did! Kip laughed, a big, relieved, joyful laugh that seemed to shake the fear right out of him. Again, said Marlowe. Kip looked at him. Again? Marlowe nodded. Now you know you can. Kip turned back towards the hilltop. His knees still trembled, but now the trembling felt less like fear and more like energy. So he climbed back up and he leaped again. This time he went a little further. The landing was still wobbly, but better. Again, a little smoother. Again, a little stronger. Soon Kip was lapping between jumps, and once, after a especially bouncy landing, he answered, that one was fully intentional, even though everybody had clearly seen him spin half a circle. The others laughed with him, not at him. By the time the sun began to slide low in the sky, painting the valley with honey-colored light, Kip sat at the hilltop beside Lily, breathless and happy. How do you feel? She asked. Kip looked over. Sun-hop plain, all glowing and endless and lovely. Like I found something, he said. What? He thought for a moment, not jumping. He found the part of me that was hiding beneath all the worrying. Lily smiled. I like that part of you. Kip smiled back. As they headed home, Kip noticed something else too. The hill hadn't changed. The jump hadn't become smaller. What had changed was him. He still felt nervous. He still felt careful. But now those feelings were standing beside something bigger. Belief. Then he reached the old gum tree. Kip's mother was waiting. Well? She asked him gently. Kip tried to say it calmly, but the joy came bubbling out too fast. I leaped. His mother's face lit up. You did? I wobbled. That's allowed. I almost spun. Very stylish. I might have looked silly. She smiled and Kip grinned, and I did it anyway. His mother drew him into a big, warm hug. That's courage. That night under the stars, Kip lay awake again, but this time not because he was worried. He was replaying the leap, the push, the air, the landing, the cheering, the feeling of finding out he could do something that fear had tried very hard to hide from him. And before he drifted off to sleep, he made another promise to himself. Tomorrow, I leap again. And he did. Not because he was suddenly fearless, but because now he knew something important. The first leap is not about being perfect. It's about beginning. Ho, ho, ho. And that, my friends, is how Kip the kangaroo took the first leap. Here's the moral of the story. Courage does not mean you feel no fear. It means you choose to begin even when fear is sitting beside you. Kip learned that the first leap does not have to be the biggest or the best. It simply has to be his. When we stop waiting to feel perfectly ready and bravely take one honest step forward, we often discover that confidence was growing inside of us all along. Wasn't that amazing, boys and girls, mums and dads? What a true story about being brave. And you can be brave too. Thank you for listening. Santa Papa John will be back tomorrow with another incredible story. Have a wonderful night. Ho, ho, ho. All right, boys and girls, mums and dads, here we go. Santa Papa John's got another story just for you guys. This is so awesome, and I hope you enjoy. I hope you got a fresh cup of hot cocoa, and I hope you've got some cookies. The night Santa lost his boots. Oh no! It was Christmas Eve, and the North Pole buzzed with excitement. Elves scurried about the workshop, checking lists twice and loading the sleigh with presents wrapped in paper that shimmered like freshly fallen snow. Reindeer pranced in their stalls, bells jingled on their harnesses. The air smelled of peppermint and pine, and the aurora borealis painted the sky in swirls of green and purple. Everything was going exactly according to plan, everything that is, except for one very important detail. Has anybody seen my boots? Santa called out, his voice echoing through the grand hallways of his workshop. Mrs. Claus looked up from the hot cocoa she was preparing, adding extra marshmallows the way Santa liked them. Your boots, dear, aren't they by the fireplace where you always leave them? Santa shook his head, his white beard swishing back and forth like snow falling from a pine branch. I thought so too, but they're not there. I've checked everywhere. The elves stopped their work immediately. Jingle Bell, the head elf, dropped his clipboard with a clatter that echoed through the suddenly silent workshop. Not your magic boots, Santa. We can't deliver presents without them. You see, Santa's boots weren't just any ordinary boots. They were special, magical, even they had been crafted centuries ago by the very first elves at the North Pole, using leather from the softest clouds and thread spun from moonbeams. They kept his feet warm in the coldest blizzards, helped him land softly and silently on rooftops without making even the slightest creak. And most importantly, they never left footprints in the snow or soot. Without them, Santa couldn't sneak in and out of houses undetected. Children might wake up. Christmas magic might be revealed, and the whole wonderful mystery of Christmas Eve would be ruined. When did you last see them? Asked Tinsel, a small elf with particular pointed ears and a talent for finding lost things. Santa stroked his beard thoughtfully, his brow furrowing with concern. Well, let me think. I wore them yesterday when I was testing the sleigh with Rudolph and the team. We flew over the Arctic Circle to make sure everything was working properly. Then I came inside, had some cookies. Mrs. Claus made those delicious gingerbread cookie ones. Read letters from children, checked the nice list one more time, and oh dear, I can't quite remember what happened after that. Mrs. Claus put down her cocoa pot with a gentle clink. Nicholas, you've been working so hard this year, perhaps you sat them down somewhere unusual. You know how you get when you're busy. A thorough search began immediately. Elves looked under every workbench in the toy workshop, checking behind rocking horses and beneath dollhouses. They searched the wrapping station where colorful paper and ribbons were stored in neat rolls. They checked the reindeer stable, looking in every stall and even asking the reindeer themselves if they had seen the boots. They searched the toy room, the control center where the naughty and nice list was kept, and even the ice cave where they stored extra candy canes and frozen treats. Mrs. Claus searched the kitchen, checking behind flour sacks and sugar bins. She looked in the library, scanning beneath reading chairs and behind towering bookshelves filled with Christmas stories from around the world. She even checked Santa's reading nook, his favorite spot by the window, but the boots were nowhere to be found. Oh no. As the clock ticked closer to departure time, the sky began to darken. Santa grew worried. The stars were beginning to appear, which meant children would soon be heading to bed. He sat down heavily in his favorite red velvet chair, letting out a loud sigh that made his beard flutter. And that's when young Pip, the smallest elf in the workshop, barely 3 feet tall, with eyes as bright as Christmas lights, tugged on his sleeve. "Santa," Pip said, "maybe there's somewhere you felt really happy yesterday." Santa looked down at the little elf with curiosity. "What do you mean, Pip?" "Well," Pip explained, shuffling his tiny boots, "my mama says that when we lose something, we should think about what we were feeling when we last had it. Happy thoughts help us remember. She says our happiest moments stick in our memory, and if we remember how we felt, we can remember where we were." Santa's eyes began to twinkle like stars reflecting off fresh snow. "You know, Pip, that's very wise advice. Your mama is a smart elf." He closed his eyes and thought back to the day before. He remembered the cold wind during the test flight. His boots kept him perfectly warm even when they flew through a snow cloud. He remembered coming inside and stomping snow off them by the door, watching the snowflakes melt into little puddles. He remembered walking through the workshop, waving to elves as they worked. He remembered settling down with a stack of letters and... "The children's letters!" Santa exclaimed, jumping up so quickly that Pip tumbled backwards and had to be caught by Jingle Bell. "I was reading letters from children, and there was one particular letter that made me so happy I had to share it with everybody. I remember now." He hurried to the great hall where all the children's letters were sorted and read. The room was enormous, with vaulted ceilings covered in icicles that sparkled like diamonds. Letters were stacked on tables and hanging from strings like paper snowflakes, organized by country and by region. Some were written in crayon, some in careful pencil, and some were decorated with stickers and drawings. At the center of the room stood a special reading chair carved from ancient wood and cushioned with red velvet, where Santa sat to read the most touching letters aloud to the elves. And there, tucked beside the chair, particularly hidden by a pile of letters from Australia, were his boots. "But how did they get there?" asked Jingle Bell, scratching his head in confusion. Santa laughed, a deep ho, 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 that made the letters flutter on the strings and brought smiles to everyone's face in the room. "I remember now, I was reading a letter from a little girl named Emma. She didn't ask for toys or games or anything for herself at all. Instead, she wrote that her Christmas wish was for her elderly neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, was not feeling to not feel lonely on Christmas. She noticed that he sat by his window looking sad, and she wanted to give him a new coloring book so that they could color together and he wouldn't be alone." Mrs. Claus pressed her hand to her heart, her eyes misting with tears. "That's beautiful, Nicholas." It was so moving, Santa continued, his voice thick with emotion, that I kicked off my boots right then and there so I could run faster and tell you all about it. I wanted to make sure we added some extra special gifts for both Emma and Mr. Jenkins. In my excitement, I completely forgot about my boots. They've been here the whole time, waiting for me to come back. The elves cheered, their voice ringing through the great hall like a chorus of bells. Pip beamed with pride, his cheeks glowed red. Santa quickly pulled on his boots. They fit perfectly, as all was molding to his feet like a warm hug. Laced them up tight with their magical golden laces. Wait, Tinsel said, always curious. What happened with Emma and Mr. Jenkins? What did you decide to bring them? Santa's eyes twinkled even brighter than before. He tapped the side of his nose knowingly. Why? I made sure Emma got a deluxe art set with twice as many colors as she asked for, perfect for sharing with her friend. And I'm bringing Mr. Jenkins a beautifully hand-carved chess set. Emma mentioned in her letter that he used to love chess before his wife passed away and that he had no one to play with anymore. But more than that, I sent a little bit of Christmas magic their way so Emma's parents would think of inviting Mr. Jenkins for Christmas dinner. Sometimes people need a little nudge to do kind things they were already thinking about. That's the true spirit of Christmas, Mrs. Claus said, kissing Santa on the cheek and straightening his hat. With his boots securely to his feet, Santa climbed into the sleigh. The reindeer were ready, pawing at the ground with anticipation, their breath creating small clouds in the cold air. Rudolph's nose glowed bright red, ready to light the way. The bag of presents were secured in the back, impossibly full, yet somehow holding every single gift. The northern lights danced overhead in ribbons of green and gold, as if nature itself was celebrating the magic about to unfold. Ready, team, Santa called out, gathering the reins in his gloved hands. Ready, shouted in all the elves in unison, waving their hats and scarves. On Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer, on Vixen, on Cupid, on Comet, on Donner and Blitzen. And Rudolph led the way through the starry night. The reindeer leaped into the sky, pulling the sleigh up, up, up into the starry night. The bells on their harnesses created a melody that only believers could hear. Santa looked back once at the North Pole, all lit up like a snow globe come to life, with elves waving goodbye and Mrs. Claus blowing kisses. And then he focused on the journey ahead. He had millions of children to visit, and thanks to little Pip's wisdom, he had on his magical boots to help him do it. Throughout the night, Santa delivered presents to children all around the world. He visited houses in bustling cities and quiet villages, apartments in tall buildings and cottages by the sea. His boots worked perfectly, keeping his feet warm whether he was on a rooftop in Alaska or climbing down a chimney in Australia's summer heat, helping him land softly without disturbing a sleeping child, leaving no trace of his visits except the gifts under the tree. And the joy would come to in the morning. But every so often, as he slid down chimneys and filled stockings, arranged presents just so, and took bites of cookies left out for him, he thought about Emma's letter and smiled. When he reached Emma's house, he placed the art set under the tree with extra care, adding a special note thanking her for her kind heart. At Mr. Jenkins' house next door, he left the chess set, along with a note suggesting Emma might like to learn the game, and perhaps Mr. Jenkins would enjoy teaching her. And he sprinkled a little extra Christmas magic, the kind that warms hearts and brings people together, the invisible kind that makes people think of each other with love. As dawn began to break and Santa had set it home, and the sky turned pink and orange, Pip's words echoed in his mind. Happy thoughts help us remember. The little elf had been right. It wasn't just happiness that helped him find his boots. It was remembering what truly mattered, what made his heart fullest. When Santa finally returned to the North Pole, the sun was just peeking over the horizon. Mrs. Claus was waiting with hot cocoa and fresh cookies. warm from the oven. The elves gathered around to hear stories of his deliveries, asking about children in different countries and whether the reindeer had behaved themselves. You know, Santa said, pulling off his boots and setting them carefully by the fireplace this time, right where they belong. I may have lost my boots today, but I found something far more valuable. What's that? Asked Pip, his eyes wide with wonder. A reminder, Santa said, his voice gentle but firm, of why we do this. It's not just about the presents or flying or even the magic. Though these things are wonderful, it's about the kindness in children's hearts. Like Emma's, it's about bringing joy and connection to people who need it, about reminding people they're not alone in this world. That's the real magic of Christmas. That's what these boots help me do. Not just walk silently, but walk in service of love and kindness. All the elves nodded, and even the reindeer, peeking in through the reindeer with snow on their antlers, seemed to understand. Mrs. Claus wiped away a happy tear. From that night on, Santa made a new tradition. Every Christmas Eve before leaving, he would read one special letter aloud, a letter that reminded everyone of Christmas's true meaning, and he always double-checked that his boots were by the fireplace before bed. But more importantly, he made sure to remember the feeling of those special letters gave him, because as little Pip had taught him, happy thoughts don't just help us remember when we lose things, they help us to remember who they are and why we're here. The moral of the story is sometimes in our busy lives, we lose track of important things, not just objects like boots, but also the reasons why we do what we do. Santa's missing boots reminded him of something precious, that the greatest gifts aren't the ones wrapped in paper and bows, but the acts of kindness and love we share with others. Just like young Emma, who thought of her lonely neighbor before herself, we all have the power to make someone else's life a little more brighter. The true magic of Christmas and of any day lives in our heart. But remember, when we think of others, we share what we have and we spread joy wherever we go. When we feel lost or overwhelmed, sometimes the answer lies in remembering what makes us happiest, connecting with others and making the world a kinder place, one small act at a time. And just like little Pip taught Santa, our happiest memories can guide us back to what matters the most. The boots were important, but the love and happiness that they helped Santa deliver was the real reason all along. Holy moly, what an amazing story, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed. Mums and dads, I hope you enjoyed as well. Santa will be back with another story shortly, so hold tight.
Hey friends, I've been thinking, we all have our strengths, right? There are things I'm great at and things I'm definitely not great at. I can talk to anyone, anywhere, but ask me to add something to a website or an app. Yeah, that's where things get a little messy. Oops, I love speaking, I love sharing stories, but social media, all those hashtags, algorithms, trends, That's a jungle I still haven't mapped out. Now, coming up with ideas that bring people together, that's my sweet spot. But bookkeeping, let's just say numbers, and I have agreed to stay in separate corners. And you know what? That's okay, because someone out there is good at those things. And when we work together, that's when the magic happens. Community Pay It Forward has never been about one person. It's a program built by many to support even more. Every single one of us brings something special to the table. We all have talents that make us strong on our own. But imagine how powerful we become when we combine them. That's the heart of Community Pay It Forward. Your skills, my skills, our hearts, working side by side to make a real difference. So tell me, what are you good at? Let's discover it together. Visit communitypayitforward.us and join the movement.
The cookie that was meant to be shared. In the cheerful little town of Maple Hollow, there was a bakery that everybody knew, even if they didn't always visit it. It sat on the corner of Willow Street with a wide front window and a painted sign that read, Maple's Oven, baked with care. Every morning the smell of warm bread, cinnamon, and sugar drifted through the air like a friendly wave, curled around lampposts and slipping into open windows. People often said that if you followed your nose, you'd end up at Maple's Oven, and they were always right. Inside the bakery, rows of golden loaves rested on wooden shelves, piled cool near the windows. On the counter, and the cookies, oh, the cookies sat proudly in glass jars, each one perfectly round and slightly uneven, just the way homemade cookies should be. Among all those cookies, well, there was one cookie that stood out. Not because it was bigger, not because it was more chocolate chips, but because it felt different. This cookie lay on a small plate near the back of the counter, still warm from the oven. It was soft in the middle, lightly crisp on the edges, and dotted with just the right number of chocolate chips. Even enough to be exciting, but not too many so that they crowded each other. If cookies could think, and this one certainly did, it would be smiling. This, the cookie thought proudly, is what perfection feels like. The same morning, a boy named Oliver rushed into the bakery with his backpack bouncing against his shoulders. Oliver was 8 years old, with bright, curious eyes and shoelaces that were almost always untied. He stopped short when he saw the display case. "Whoa," he whispered. Mabel, the baker, chuckled from behind the counter. "Good morning, Oliver. You look like you've discovered treasure." Oliver pressed his hands to the glass. "It smells like happiness in here." "That's the sugar talking," Mabel said with a wink. Oliver had come with his mother, who was chatting with Mabel about flour deliveries and weather forecasts. Oliver wandered closer to the counter and spotted the cookie on the small plate. "That one," he said, pointing. "Why is that cookie all by itself?" Mabel glanced at it and smiled softly. "That one's special." Oliver's eyes widened. "Special how?" "Well," Mabel said, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret, "sometimes a cookie's known it's meant for something important." Oliver didn't fully understand, but he nodded anyway. Important cookies made sense somehow. "Can I have it?" he asked. Mabel studied him for a moment, then nodded. Yes, I think you can. She placed the cookie carefully in a small paper bag and handed it to him. But remember, she said gently, good things have a way of becoming even better when shared. Oliver smiled, thanked her, and skipped off out the door. Inside the bag, the cookie felt the movement, the gentle sway, the bounce of Oliver's steps, the warmth of his hands holding it tight. So, the cookie thought, this is my big moment. The cookie imagined being eaten right away. One happy bite, maybe two. A job well done. But Oliver didn't open the bag. Instead, he walked down the street towards the park, where laughter echoed and birds hopped up along the grass. He sat on a bench and pulled out the bag. Then stopped. Across from him, a little girl sat alone on the swing. Her feet barely touched the ground, and she kicked at the dirt slowly, her head down. Oliver frowned. He recognized her from school. Her name was Lena, and she had moved to Maple Hollow just a few weeks earlier. Oliver looked at the cookie bag, then at Lena, then back at the cookie. The cookie felt a strange flutter. Wait, what's happening? Oliver stood up and walked over. Hi, he said. Do you want a cookie? Lena looked surprised. Really? Yes, Oliver said. It's a really good one. He opened the bag and held it out. The cookie held its breath. Lena smiled, a small smile at first, then a bigger one. She took the cookie, broke it clearly in half, and handed one piece back to Oliver. Sharing makes it better, she said. The cookie felt something new, as if it was split. Not pain, not loss, but pride. As Oliver and Lena finished the cookie, crumbs dusted their fingers. The park seemed a little brighter. The sun peeked through the clouds, and the swing creaked gently as Lena pushed off again. You know, Lena said quietly, this is my favorite cookie I've ever had. Oliver grinned, mine too. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching a pair of squirrels chase each other around a tree. Oliver swung his legs and thought about how close he had been to eating the cookie all by himself. Inside, the memory of the cookie, if such a thing could exist, there was a feeling of being exactly where it belonged. Later that evening, Oliver walked home humming softly. When he reached his front steps, he noticed something unusual. Mrs. Finch, the elderly woman who lived next door, was struggling with a heavy grocery bag. One of the handles had torn and the apples rolled across the sidewalk. Without thinking, Oliver dropped his backpack and rushed over. I can help, he said. Mrs. Finch looked surprised. Well, thank you, young man. As Oliver gathered the apples, he felt the same warm feeling he had felt in the park. It wasn't loud or flashy. It was quiet and steady, like knowing you were doing the right thing. When Oliver went inside, his mother noticed his smile. You look happy, she said. I am, Oliver replied. I shared something today. His mother nodded thoughtfully. Sharing has a way of doing that. That afternoon, Oliver and Lena sat together again, talking about favorite books and silly pets. The cookie was already gone, but the laughter wasn't. And when the moment passed, something lingered. Warm joy, a new friendship. Later that day, Lena went home smiling. When her mother asked why, Lena said, someone shared with me today. His mother smiled too and baked extra muffins for the neighbors. One neighbor, feeling lighter than usual, brought soup to an elderly man down the street. The man, grateful, fixed a broken fence for a family who couldn't do it for themselves. And on it went. Small acts, quiet kindnesses, all rippled outward. The next morning at school, Oliver noticed something else. Lena was no longer sitting alone. She was laughing with two other kids. her hands moving as she told a story. When she saw Oliver, she waved. At recess, one of the kids tripped and scraped their knee. Without even being asked, Lena sat beside them until the teacher came. Oliver watched surprised. It's like it's spreading, he thought. The next week, Oliver returned to the bakery. Mabel greeted him with a knowing look. How was the cookie? Oliver smiled. It was different. Different how, she asked. It didn't feel like it was just mine. She said it felt like it wanted to be shared. Mabel laughed softly. Some things do. That day, Oliver brought 2 cookies. One for himself, one for later. On the walk home, he saw a boy sitting on the curb, clearly upset. Oliver paused. He didn't hesitate. Hey, he said, holding out the cookie. Want to share? The boy looked up, surprised, then smiled. Back at Mabel's oven, another batch of cookies cooled on the rack. Each one warm, each one delicious. But every now and then, one felt a little different, but not because it was better, not because it was meant to remind someone of something important. That joy grows when shared. That kindness doesn't shrink when given away, and that sometimes the smallest things, like a cookie, can make the biggest difference. And somewhere, whenever cookies go after they're eaten, there's one very special cookie would have smiled. The moral of the story is cookies were meant to be shared as the kindness that grows when we share what we have. Even small acts, offering a smile, sharing a treat, or including someone else's who feels alone, can create happiness that spreads far beyond the moment. When we choose generosity over keeping things just for ourselves, we discover that giving doesn't take away from us. It adds to everyone.
What if your story could power a movement? Every struggle you have conquered becomes the answer someone else is still searching for. At Community Pay It Forward, your mission matters. When someone shops with one of our giving partners, they can choose to support you simply by uploading a receipt. Your story gets shared. You get visibility, and you can share our program to raise up to 90% referral awards. You have a story we're sharing. We're here to help tell it. Apply today by using the QR code or at communitypayitforward.us. Because your story deserves to be shared. And at Community Pay It Forward, no one needs to go it alone when we all come together.
Ho, ho, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Story Time by Santa. Sit back, relax, and enjoy these wonderful stories that Santa is going to read to you, your family members, and your children. I hope you have a wonderful time. And if you like, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Santa loves you. Ho, ho, ho. Enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Storytime by Santa. I hope you're enjoying these, because I sure am enjoying them reading to you. The Tale of the Tinsel Fairy. Once upon a frosty night in the enchanted town of Evergreen Hollow, Christmas in full bloom, twinkling lights dancing in the trees, Snowflakes gently kissed the rooftops of the cottages. Children giggled in the streets, building snowmen and singing carols, while families prepared for the grand Christmas Eve celebration. Yet unknown to most, there was a special kind of magic in the air. Magic created by the Tinsel Fairy. The Tinsel Fairy, in a tiny figure with shimmering silver wings and a dress made of sparkling tinsel, lived deep in the heart of the evergreen forest. Every year she would fly into town on Christmas Eve, spreading her magic to ensure the holiday spirit was bright and joyful. Her job was to make sure that every tree, every wreath, and every garland sparkled with Christmas cheer. This year, however, something was different. The fairy could feel it as she prepared to leave the forest and begin her yearly task. She noticed that her tinsel wand, which glowed with magic of Christmas joy, had grown dim. Her heart sank. How could she spread Christmas magic with her wand if it had lost its sparkle? Determined not to let the town down, the Tinsel Fairy set off anyway, hoping she might find the answer along the way. As she flew into Evergreen Hollow, the town seemed just as joyful as ever, except for one small house on the edge of town. The house belonged to a little girl named Lily. Lily loved Christmas, but this year was different. Her family had just moved to the Evergreen Hollow, and she missed her old friends. The holiday didn't feel as magic without them, and she didn't see to the point in decorating a Christmas tree if her friends weren't there to see it. When the Tinsel Fairy landed on Lily's windowsill, she peeked inside and saw the little girl, sitting alone by her undecorated tree. The fairy thought, Small was wise, and she realized that Lily's sadness might be a reason her wand had lost its glow. The magic of Christmas wasn't just about lights and presents. It was about sharing joy with others. The fairy flew into the room, landing softly on Lily's shoulders. "Why are you so sad, little one?" the Tinsel Fairy asked her in her gentle voice. Lily looked up, her eyes widening in surprise. Who are you?" "Well, I'm the Tinsel Fairy," she said with a smile, "and I can see your heart isn't filled with Christmas joy this year. Would you like to tell me why?" Lily sighed. "I miss my old friends. Christmas doesn't feel the same without them. I don't feel like decorating the tree or singing carols. It just doesn't feel right." The Tinsel thought for a moment. "I understand. It's hard when things change, but do you know what makes Christmas truly special? It's the way we share love and joy with the people around us. Even though your old friends aren't here, there are new friends to be made and new memories to create. And sometimes when we spread joy to others, we end up feeling it in our hearts too." Lily looked at her undecorated tree, her eyes softening. "But what if I don't know how to feel joyful again?" The fairy smiled and waved her tinsel wand over the tree. "Though it still didn't sparkle the way it used to, let's start small. Why don't you hang one ornament and think of something that makes you feel happy. Maybe your favorite Christmas memory, Lily stood up and carefully selected an ornament from the box. As she hung it on the tree, she remembered the time her friends had surprised her with a Christmas party last year. She smiled at the memory, and for a moment, her heart felt a little lighter. "That's it," Tinsel Fairy said, her wings fluttering with excitement. "Now think of someone in your new town who might need some Christmas cheer. Who could you share a little joy with?" Lily thought about her neighbor, Mrs. Snow, who lived alone. She always smiled at Lily when they passed by, but Lily had never really spoken to her. "Maybe Mrs. Snow," she said. "She doesn't have anyone to spend Christmas with." The fairy's eyes twinkled. "That's a wonderful idea. Why don't you bake her some Christmas cookies and deliver them tomorrow? Sharing your joy with her might just help you find your own Christmas spirit." Lily nodded, feeling a little bit more hopeful. "I'll do that." As Lily placed more ornaments on the tree, thinking of the good she could do for others, the Tinsel Fairy's wand began to glow. Slowly but surely the dim light returned, and with a gentle flick of her wrists, the fairy filled the room with a soft, magical glow. The tree sparkled, the tinsel shimmered, and the room felt warm and bright. The Tinsel Fairy grinned. "You see, Lily, the more joy you give, the more you have. That's the true magic of Christmas." Lily smiled, her heart full of warmth. "Thank you, Tinsel Fairy. I think I understand now." The fairy nodded. "You've done more than understand. You've reminded me of the magic, too." With a final wave of her wand, she sent a cascade of shimmering tinsel around the room. "Merry Christmas, Lily, and don't forget, Christmas joy is meant to be shared." As the Tinsel Fairy flew off into the night, Lily sat by her now glowing Christmas tree. Excited for the day ahead, she couldn't wait to bake cookies for Mrs. Snow and maybe invite some of her new neighbors over to celebrate. From that day forward, Lily remembered the fairy's words, "The more joy you give, the more you have." And so Christmas in Evergreen Hollow became brighter than ever, with Lily's heart full of joy and the spirit of giving lighting up the town. Wow! Here's the life lesson. The story teaches that true joy comes from receiving, but from giving and sharing happiness with others. By spreading kindness, we create lasting memories and fill our hearts with warmth and joy. Wasn't that incredible, boys and girls? Are you ready for the next story? The reindeer who found his jingle. Wow! Once upon a time in the snowy wonderland of the North Pole, there was a young reindeer named Jasper. Jasper was no ordinary reindeer. He was training to become one of Santa's sleigh team. Like the other reindeer, he had strong legs to leap across the sky, a shiny coat that shimmered in the moonlight, and bright eyes that twinkled with excitement. But then there was one little thing Jasper was missing: his jingle. In Santa's village, every reindeer had their own special jingle, a sound that came from magical bells on their harnesses. Those bells didn't just make any sound, they played a unique melody that reflected each reindeer's spirit. Dasher's bells jingled with energy, Prancer had a joyful rhyme, and even Rudolph's nose lit up in time with the soft ring of his bells. But no matter how hard Jasper tried, he couldn't make his bells jingle. Christmas Eve was only a few days away, and Jasper was feeling worried. The more he practiced flying and pulling the sleigh, the more frustrated he became. while all the other reindeer proudly rang their bells. With every step, Jasper's remained silent. One evening, after a long day of training, Jasper sat alone under a twinkling fir tree. Snow gently fell around him, but instead of feeling the Christmas magic, he felt discouraged. "I'll never be ready for Santa's sleigh," Jasper sighed to himself. "What good is a reindeer who can't even jingle?" As Jasper sat there lost in thought, an unexpected visitor approached. It was an old wise owl named Owlie, who often helped guide the reindeer during their late night flights. "Why the long face, Jasper?" asked Owlie, perching on a snowy branch. "It's nearly Christmas, yet you look like you've lost your holiday cheer." Jasper sighed again. "It's my jingle, Owlie. No matter how hard I try, I can't make my bells ring like the other reindeer. I'll never be able to pull Santa's sleigh without it." Owlie tilted his head thoughtfully. "Ah, I see you're focused on the sound of the bells, but have you ever stopped to think about where the jingle comes from?" Jasper blinked. "What do you mean?" "The jingle isn't just a sound that happens when you fly or pull the sleigh. It's the joy, kindness, and the Christmas spirit in your heart that makes the bells jingle. If you're only worried about making noise, the magic won't happen. You need to find what makes your heart truly light up." Jasper thought about Ollie's words, but he wasn't sure what made his heart light up. He loved Christmas and wanted to help Santa, but somehow that didn't feel like enough to make his jingle appear. "Why don't you take a break from worrying about the sleigh?" Ollie suggested. "Spend some time doing something that makes you happy." Jasper nodded. Though he still felt unsure, he decided to take a walk through the North Pole village to clear his mind. As he strolled through the snowy streets, he noticed how busy everybody was. The elves were hard at work making toys, Mrs. Claus was baking cookies, and the carolers were practicing their songs. Everybody had something special they were doing for Christmas, except him. Suddenly, Jasper heard a soft cry from a nearby snowbank. Curious, he trotted over and found a small bunny stuck in the deep snow. The bunny was shivering and couldn't get out. "Oh no, don't worry, I'll help you," Jasper said, gently nudging the snow away with his nose. After a few minutes, the bunny was free. "Thank you, Jasper," the bunny said, her voice filled with gratitude. "I thought you were going to be stuck there all night. I was getting worried." Jasper smiled. "I'm glad I could help. Where are you headed?" "I was trying to get to the village square to see the big Christmas tree light up," the bunny said, "but now I'm too tired to make it." Without a second thought, Jasper crouched down. "Hop on my back. I'll take you there." The little bunny's eyes lit up and she gratefully climbed upon Jasper's back. With a quick dash, Jasper carried her through the village and right to the square, where the Christmas tree stood tall and glowing with thousands of twinkling lights. The bunny thanked him again and ran off to join her friends, leaving Jasper feeling a warmth in his heart that he hadn't felt all season. Just then, Jasper noticed something, a soft, sweet sound that was coming from his harness. His bells! They were jingling! He stopped for a moment and listened. Sure enough, his bells had began to chime, playing a gentle, joyful melody. But how? he hadn't been trying to make them jingle. That's when Ole's words came back to him. The jingle comes from within you, Jasper realized that helping the little bunny and spreading kindness had made him feel something special. Joy. Yes, he felt something special called joy. It wasn't about the fastest or the strongest reindeer. It was about doing good and making others happy. That was what made his jingle come to life. Excited, Jasper trotted back to the reindeer stables, where Santa was busy checking his list and making final preparations for Christmas Eve. Santa, Santa, Jasper called out. Listen! Santa turned, his eyes twinkling. Well, I'll be, I hear a jingle, Jasper. It sounds like you found your melody. Jasper beamed with pride as his bells rang softly in the cold winter air. I found it by helping someone. I realized that it's not just about pulling the sleigh or flying high. It's about spreading joy and kindness. Santa chuckled warmly. You've learned one of the most important lessons of Christmas, Jasper. The magic isn't in the bells, it's in the heart. And now that you've found your jingle, you're ready to join the team. On Christmas Eve, as the reindeer lined up to pull Santa's sleigh, Jasper stood tall and proud, his bells ringing with the sweetest sound he had ever heard. Together they flew into the night sky, delivering gifts and joy to children all around the world. And wherever they went, the joy of Jasper's jingle rang out, a reminder that the true magic of Christmas comes from the kindness and the love we share with others. Here's your life lesson. The story teaches that true joy and success come not from focusing on what we lack, but from sharing kindness and helping others by doing good. We discover the inner magic that makes us shine. Ho, 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 ho! Wasn't that special, boys and girls? I hope you enjoyed that, because we're all done for this evening. But I'll be back again real soon. Have an awesome day. Santa loves you.
Ho, ho, Santa Papa John coming at you with some exciting news. I've got something special to tell you. Story time by Santa. You know my stories. They're now being featured on Brother Zach's website, Community Pay It Forward. This is so exciting, and I couldn't be more proud. Why? Because this is what it's all about, folks. Paying it forward, sharing kindness, and creating moments that make people smile. And these stories, well, they're not just about the North Pole and Santa. Oh no, you need to check them out. They're happy, uplifting stories filled with positive messages and meaningful life lessons. Stories that bring people together and remind us what really matters. A big thank you going out to Brother Zach for helping spread joy and bring these stories to even more hearts. So, head over to Community Pay It Forward website, check out these stories, enjoy the stories, and don't forget, share them with someone who could really use a smile today. Ho, 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 because joy has no season, and together we can keep paying it forward.
Hi friends, it's me, Barry, and today I get to share something truly special with you. Our friends at Dignify Dementia have given us a beautifully crafted fleece-lined blanket. It is soft. It is comforting. It is made with the kind of care that reminds every family they are not alone. And that is only the beginning. We have also been gifted a powerful and magical book set from Erin Anatavi, complete with a hand-painted wand she designed herself. It honors the truth that one size does not fit all. On May 6th, we will spin the wheel of giving. Every dollar you donate is one placement on the wheel. $1, one chance, one act of kindness that helps us bring the Come Together compass to life. Your support guides families to the help they need. Your generosity keeps our mission moving forward. Your kindness makes you a hero in someone's story. So join me. Donate today. Let's fill the wheel of giving and bring comfort, magic, and hope